everybody. This is Pastor Brady Henderson from Gaston's First Baptist Church right here in the heart of the Midlands in South Carolina. You are listening to the Menorah Podcast, the podcast ministry of the First Baptist Church of Gaston. The Menorah Podcast seeks to share the light, speak the light, and send the light of Jesus Christ all across the airwaves of the internet. Alan, I am here with you today, and it is hard to believe. Episode 24. When we started this back in February, I don't know if people thought we were going to make it this far, but we did. And we want to thank all our listeners. You guys are awesome. So last week, we talked a little bit about Lifeway Statistics from Pew to Pew, their pamphlet that came out that I got at the convention. And as we told you last week, we do want to talk with you today about something that is happening next month. Now, Alan, we've been telling our listeners all year this is the bicentennial year.
Yep.
And so today is a special episode as we get ready for our bicentennial celebration, which will be on Sunday, August the 25th. It's going to be a great day. It's going to be a great time. We want to invite everybody to come. And so before that week, though, we're going to have a revival. And so I want to give our listeners a heads up on who the preachers are, talk a little bit about them, and you have a unique seat here today. You were a church member during all three of these guys' pastorates, so I want to hear your heart on their service at our church. So we'll talk about that. Do want to let everybody know it is a tent revival, and yes, it is air conditioned. So we made sure to do that. So we're going to feed everybody on the lawn in the field across the street from the church that Sunday after the homecoming service. And so since we rented the tent, we wanted to use it all throughout the week to be good stewards of God's money. So we're going to be having a tent revival. And so on August 21st at 7 p.m., August 22nd at 7 p.m., and on August 23rd at 7 p.m., we're going to have a nightly service in the tent, an old school tent revival. And so on night one, Wednesday, August 21st at 7 p.m., Dr. Bill Pauling is going to be returning. He pastored at First Baptist from 1980 to 1989. And then on the second night, August the 22nd at 7 p.m., Dr. Larry Harrison will be preaching. He served as pastor here from 2009 to 2016. And then on Friday, August the 23rd at 7 p.m., Rev Rex Simmons will be preaching at 7 p.m. So just want to give a little bit of background on all these guys, and because I know we have a lot of new people in our church. When a pastor from the past comes back, they're like, who's this guy? Right? They don't know, and they weren't here. So I want to give a little bit of information for those. I want to tell you about Dr. Bill Pauling. He came to serve here when he was 26 years old. Brother Bill is a dear friend of mine. We get to play golf together. I believe Brother Bill married you and Miss Sherelle, correct?
He was one of our ministers, yep.
That's right. And Brissy the other, yep. And so Dr. Pauling currently serves at Mount Ebal Baptist Church down in Batesburg, and he's been there for over 22 years now. When he left our church, he went to Kansas and pastored there. While he was there, he got his doctorate from Midwestern Baptist Theological Seminary. He got his MDiv from Southwestern, so that's good. He's one of the good guys. Went to Southwestern. But anyway, that's where I go currently. And so Dr. Pauling was 26 years old when he came to our church and stayed for 9 years, had their 2 children here, lived in the parsonage, and Dr. Pauling did a wonderful job. He was a big part of the Together We Build campaign that resulted in our current sanctuary that we have today, and he is a smart man and was a wonderful, wonderful pastor. And so Dr. Bill Pauling, that's kind of my synopsis on him, but I want to hear from an eyewitness account that got to experience the Bill Pauling days at First Baptist.
Yeah, he kind of raised me, so to speak. Mm-hmm. You know, most of my youth life, as I was coming out of the youth group, was during his ministry here. So, you know, he was kind of influencing my life, mm-hmm. In my direction, and kind of helped me stay where I should be. Mm-hmm. And, you know, he was pretty instrumental in facilitating my relationship with my wife now, mm-hmm. as we both grew up in this church. Mm-hmm. And so he was really the first pastor that I was able to become involved with And as I transitioned from being in high school and middle school and come through and being, I guess, independently active
Yeah.
in the church.
Making it your own.
That's a time when you lose a lot of people because they come out. Lots of times they go to school off, and I did the same thing. But after a couple of weeks, I learned to cherish the time I got to come home,
Yeah.
spend back home. So I kind of feel like we grew up together.
That's awesome. And he wasn't that much older than you. Probably about 10 years.
Yeah, probably about 10 years.
So, Dr. Pauling, he's in his 70s now. He's still pastoring full time. He had a pretty scary surgery last year with his intestines and some things, and he's doing much better. Played golf with him about a month ago. Funny story, we got rained on like crazy, but I love that fella. He's a great preacher. I think that needs to be mentioned as well. Great expositor of the word, great scholar too. He's written a commentary. Most people might not know that.
Might not know that, yeah.
But he wrote a commentary on First and Second Timothy, and it is used by many pastors. And that just, he got his roots here. He started here, and that's just really special.
It is to see, kind of come full circle now.
Yeah, and he's not that far. I've preached revivals at his church, and I've done different things there, and he's preached for me before,
Yep.
and so he's coming back to preach again.
We were really his first pastorate out of seminary.
Yeah, y'all were. Yep, y'all were his first church. All right, so that's Dr. Pauling. You might be wondering if you're listening, why are we going from 1989 to 2009? Well, I want to tell you why. Reverend Gary Farmer is buried in our church cemetery, went to be with the Lord a few years ago. And then also Reverend Jim Fanning, who came after him, also went to be with the Lord just a few years ago as well. So both of those guys are in heaven, so that's why they won't be coming back for our revival. And the only other living pastor other than these three gentlemen is Dr. Richard Capps, and he is not physically able at this time to be able to come down and preach. I believe he's still living in North Carolina, so that's the reason for that. Okay, Dr. Larry Harrison served here from 2009 to 2016, and he's going to be with us on Thursday, August the 22nd. And so Pastor Larry was called here in 2009. Before he came here, he served as the pastor at Sisk Memorial Baptist Church in Rock Hill. He also served as pastor at other churches in North Carolina, and he's from North Carolina. I should mention that. And so Pastor Larry, I think what he is going to be remembered for. One thing that I think people remember about Bill is he had a really caring heart. Still does. I was at a surgery not too long ago for Terry Pound, and I walked in. I think you were there. And Preacher Bill, I call him Little Bill sometimes. I think he's about 4'11", and I'm 6'1", so that's an interesting pair together. But I walked into the hospital, and he was sitting right there. And, he and Terry have remained friends all these years. And so I think what Pastor Larry is going to be remembered for is that he was very evangelistic. He was very outgoing, and I think one thing that he did at our church is that he led First Baptist really well in outreach events. I think the main thing people are going to remember is block parties.
Yep.
And that was a big outreach.
Well, the other thing that he led us in, and you're now part of that, is the Child Evangelism Fellowship's Good News Clubs.
That's right.
He started that here. He requested that we participate in that, and not only that we fund it through our budget.
Yes.
And, it was kind of a shot in the dark. We didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
And that went on for several years, and then it kind of took off again. And so we've been very active within our school district. We do 3 Good News Clubs a year. In our school district. So that's something that he also instituted and got started.
And that's a big deal because Mike Rawlson shared not too long ago, I don't remember the exact number, but he shared as a moment in history in church how many children had been saved during the 10 years. Mm-hmm. It's a little over 10, but about the 10 years that we've been doing Good News Club. And so we need to thank Pastor Larry for that. And I think that has to go with his evangelistic heart.
Right.
I think he loves to see souls. Well, I know that he loves to see souls saved. And I think that is a main thing about Pastor Larry. And
Yep.
so Pastor Larry is in his 70s also now, and he is serving in a school district in Rock Hill as I think he's a special education teaching assistant. I think I got that right. So anyway, he's teaching in an elementary school up there and preaching whenever God gives him an opportunity. So have a good relationship with him as well as Dr. Pauling. The last speaker, our preacher that we're going to have, is Reverend Rex Simmons, which I know you know well. Rex served as the pastor here at First Baptist from 2018, right before COVID happened in 2020. So, as he tells me, he was here 26 months. That's what he always tells me. So, wasn't here very long, but his impact was very strong. I've known who Rex is a long time before I came here. He's from the same area I'm from. Pastor Rex was called to First Baptist in 2018. He served here for 26 months. He came here from First Baptist Church in Croswell. It's Croswell First Baptist Church, and Easley is where that church is. And so Pastor Rex, while he was here, led many people to Christ, baptized many. I think what Pastor Rex is going to be remembered for is his great vision. I think he's going to be remembered for that. He casted the vision for what we have across the street, and the Lord has since passed that on to me. But he did a great job in setting that. One thing that Rex did that most people don't understand is, yes, he led a lot of people to Christ through his Bible preaching and his visitation ministry, but he also did a really good job of getting people back that their names were on the roll. And what I mean by that is their names were on the roll, but they were not attending.
Right.
And he really made that an emphasis to reach out, and he didn't get them all back, but he got a lot of them back. And I think that's really important, and his great care. And so we're so glad. One thing to mention about Rex that differs between him and Dr. Pauling and Dr. Harrison and myself is that Rex was called later in life. Rex was called, I believe, early 30s. I hope I'm getting that right. And he was working a secular job, and God called him to preach, and he went to North Greenville and got his education there, and so on and so forth. But, I think that's really cool that God, he listened to the call of God. He's currently a church planter in Piedmont, South Carolina at Living Grace Baptist Church. And he's also pastoring Slabtown Baptist Church. And you heard that right. That is an actual church. So he's doing the throwback model. He's doing the circuit preaching thing, pastoring two at one time. And he does it with his son, Justin. And so saw both of them just a few weeks ago at the convention. So tell me a little bit about your experience with Pastor Rex. I know you two were good friends.
Yeah, Pastor Rex and I were probably as close as I have been with any pastor, and it just happened that way because at those particular times in both of our lives, we were experiencing some of the same things. He was called down here. His first day at work basically was January 1st. His wife's school teacher, and she didn't want to break her contract. So she remained behind at their old home, and he come on down, and he commuted for a little while. And as we get closer to the end of the year, he's looking for somewhere to stay. And so he and I would hang out a lot because at the time my wife was traveling too. So we were like two bachelors getting in trouble while our wives were out of town, So we ate a lot together, and he's really the first pastor that I started visiting with a little bit.
Yeah.
We didn't have all of the media stuff going on then. It's kind of ironic, I think, that in October, before Pastor Rex left, we were at lunch one day, and he brought up streaming.
Yeah.
And what the possibilities would be. And, I was like, oh, we'll never do that here. It takes so much commitment on people's parts. And, it's hard for us to get enough people to cover services. And then that March, we were wide open.
Bam. Just a few months later.
I find that when I look back at that, I think how amazing God is that he let me participate in something of that nature.
Yeah.
And that he used Brother Rex to kind of put that in my mind.
Gave you a heads up, essentially.
Yeah.
Without realizing it was a heads up.
Yeah.
So as we get ready to close, what do you think Pastor Rex is going to be most remembered for, and his long, what's his legacy, going to be?
When he shook your hand the first time and looked you in the eye, you felt like you'd known him all your life. He was very personable.
Awesome, awesome. Well, that's Dr. Bill Pauling, Dr. Larry Harrison, and Rev Rex Simmons. You can hear all three of these men if you come to our tent revival, August 21st through the 23rd, each night at 7 p.m. All right, Brother Al, we will see everybody next week. It's hot. Stay cool. Drink a lot of water. And make sure you tune in to the Menorah podcast as she seeks to share the light, send the light, and speak the light every single Thursday. Thank you so much, and have a great day.
Bye-bye, guys.